When I saw my girlfriend Emma in my grandfather's study, holding the old mahogany box that contained the trust documents, something inside me froze. The way she turned sharply when I stepped into the doorway, her eyes wide, the faint tremor in her hand, told me she hadn't expected to be caught there. The study smelled of cedar and old books. Afternoon light filtered through the curtains, cutting across the dust motes that hung like secrets. My voice came out hoarse. "What are you doing?" She blinked rapidly, then smiled too quickly. "I was just looking for my phone. I thought I left it in here last night." I stared at the box. The lid was open. The papers, my grandparents' estate documents, were spread across the desk like a deck of cards. I remembered locking them before leaving for graduation. "You thought your phone was inside a locked box?" I asked quietly. Her throat bobbed. "I didn't mean to open it, I swear. I just wanted to see what it was." My chest tightened. "Why?" Her gaze flickered, then dropped to the floor. "Because I heard you talking to your lawyer about putting everything into a trust. You didn't tell me." I walked around the desk slowly. Each step felt heavy, deliberate. "It wasn't your business to know yet." She looked up sharply, wounded. "We've been together 3 years, Michael. We were supposed to build a life together. How is that not my business?" Her voice cracked on the last word, and for a fleeting moment, I almost believed her. But something in her tone, it wasn't heartbreak. It was panic. After my grandparents passed, they left me everything. The estate, the vineyard, even the small lake house by the hills. I was 22, still figuring out who I was, and suddenly I was sitting on $3 million worth of property. My grandfather had always said, "Trust no one who asks what's in your will before asking how you are." At first, Emma was everything I thought I wanted. Warm, funny, supportive. She stayed up with me during finals, cooked me meals when I forgot to eat, and celebrated every small victory as if it were her own. But after the inheritance, things changed. Subtly, quietly. She began asking about investments, about liquidity, about our future, in a way that always seemed to include numbers. When I mentioned putting the estate into a trust to protect it from misuse, she got defensive. She said I was creating distance, that I didn't trust her. Now, seeing her with those papers, I realized how right my grandfather had been. I sat down in his old leather chair and studied her. "What were you really looking for, Emma?" Tears filled her eyes instantly. "Why are you talking to me like that?" "Because I want the truth. I told you." I was curious. "You've been so secretive lately, locking doors, making calls at odd hours. I thought maybe you didn't trust me anymore." Her voice trembled, soft and pleading. "Might have worked once." "Then why?" I asked, leaning forward. "Did you meet up with Mark last week?" The color drained from her face. "What?" I took my phone out, slid it across the desk. "Photos. Text. A nice dinner at the waterfront. The hotel receipt. You didn't even try to hide it." Her lip quivered. "Michael, it's not what you think." I laughed quietly, though there was nothing funny about it. "Then tell me what it is. Because to me it looks like you and my financial advisor had a little meeting. Over wine. In a hotel." She froze. The silence was suffocating. Then she whispered, "He told me things. About the trust. About how you were planning to cut me out. I just wanted to understand what was happening. I swear it wasn't about the money." "Then what was it about?" Her voice broke. "I didn't want to lose you. I thought if I could just understand, I could fix things before you left me." I stood, feeling the burn of betrayal crawl up my spine. "You already lost me the second you stepped into that hotel." For weeks after, she tried to explain. Her messages poured in like rain. Apologies, please, promises that it wasn't an affair, just a mistake. But betrayal doesn't have to be physical to rot you from the inside. My lawyer confirmed what I already suspected. Mark had been feeding her information about the estate, possibly hoping to benefit himself. He'd been fired immediately, but the damage was done. Emma vanished from my life after that. Or so I thought. 2 years later, I was walking through the vineyard at sunset when I saw a familiar figure by the old stone wall. Her hair was shorter, her clothes worn. She looked smaller somehow, like the air had been let out of her. "Michael," she said, almost in a whisper. I didn't answer. "I came to say I'm sorry. Not for what I did to you. I've said that 1,000 times. But for what I became afterward." I watched her eyes shimmer in the golden light. She wasn't the manipulative girl I'd known. She looked broken. "I lost everything," she continued. "Mark used me. He disappeared with the money I had saved. I moved back with my parents. I kept thinking about that day in your grandfather's study. How you looked at me. Like I was nothing." Clenched my jaw. "You weren't nothing. You were everything. And you threw it away." Tears slipped down her cheeks. "I know." For a moment, the wind carried the scent of grapes and dust. The vineyard had been my refuge since everything fell apart. "My peace." She hesitated. "Did you ever forgive me?" I looked out at the horizon. The sun dipped low, staining the sky with red. "No. But I stopped hating you." She nodded, as if that was all she needed. Then she turned and walked down the hill, her silhouette shrinking into the twilight. That night I sat in the study again. The old mahogany box was still there, though it now contained only one document, the final version of the trust. Everything my grandparents built was preserved, untouched by greed or deceit. I poured myself a glass of the estate's oldest wine and stared at the flickering fireplace. For a long time I thought betrayal was an act, something someone did to you. But I learned it's also a mirror. It shows you what you ignored, what you excused, what you loved too blindly to see clearly. In protecting what they left me, I had protected more than money. I had protected my soul. As the fire cracked softly, I whispered to the empty room, "Thank you, Grandpa. You were right. Trust no one who asks about your will before your well-being." And for the first time in years I felt peace. Not from revenge or justice, but from finally letting go of what almost destroyed me. The papers rested quietly in the box, sealed, safe, and eternal, just like the lessons they carried.